Today's reading is The Vase by David S. Blanchard, taken from the book How We Are Called, a Meditation Anthology. My friend tells this story. He had been sharing an apartment with a roommate for several years. The roommate had many exquisite belongings, oriental rugs, Chinese imported porcelain, Sheraton furniture, and Steuben glass. Most of these objects had been acquired when the roommate had shared his life with a lover who had since left him. Somehow, that made these things precious to the roommate, and my friend knew it. In a way, the apartment had become a memorial to this failed relationship. One night, my friend stopped at a florist on the way home from work and bought some large lilies. When he got home, he looked around for something to put them in, and he spied the perfect vase, a tall, elegant vase that had been one of his last gifts from his former lover. My friend arranged the flowers, put them on the mantel, and then went about making dinner. All was well, at least until the warmth of the house started to open more and more of the blossoms, shifting their weight. My friend was in the kitchen when he heard the vase hit the stone hearth. This was a disaster. My friend knew that his roommate would be devastated. The vase was irreplaceable. He swept up the shards of glass, trying to decide whether to play dumb, vase, what vase, or plead for mercy. He chose the latter. The roommate got home. The story was told. There were no fireworks, no tears, no anguish. Just a quiet, calm acceptance about what had happened, a kind of forgiveness, a kind of letting go. The next day, the roommate called an antiques dealer and sold most of the furniture that he had preserved from the broken past. He rolled up the carpets and he took them to an auction. He gave the rest of the Steuben glass to friends who had admired it. And he thanked my friend for choosing that particular vase to hold the lilies.
Thank you, Sally. So I set a new personal record this week. It was not on a bicycle. It was, how fast can I break a New Year's resolution? I don't know about you, but I think there may be some of those in this room, right? Not broken vases, but broken resolutions. So I went to bed on the 31st saying to myself, no sweet breads of any kind in 2013. Now, when I awoke on the 1st of January, I realized that I was sipping tea and in my mouth was half a Pop-Tart my nephew had left on the table. Now, I could have just shrugged it off and said, it was early and I forgot, right? Except 2 hours later, I was eating a blueberry scone in a bakery. This is how it goes, right? Sometimes with resolutions. Now, today isn't about resolutions, although I think resolutions might be a clue to what today's about. Today is about relinquishment. It is about turning something over, about letting go of that weight that you carry, whatever that might be. So if I was going to look at my resolution, I see a resolution that has more to do with weight. Now you look at me and you say, he's in good shape, but you haven't seen me in spandex, so that's, But even beyond that, maybe it has something to do with some deep-seated pain I carry. Some self-loathing, perhaps. Some anger at myself, of my weight going up and down. You know something about that. So the resolution, perhaps, is the key to the relinquishment. The practice of giving up something. Not giving up sweets per se, but letting go, moving on from something you need to move on from in your life. So today what we are after is not promises that you can't keep, but rather discarding those nagging voices that can be destructive to the spirit and the soul. To relinquish, to give up, to abandon, to abdicate, to discard, to forsake. Today we ask you to seed, not plant a seed, but the C-E-D-E, to swear off, to put down, to vacate, to ditch, to drop like a hot potato, something, some aspect of yourself that you have been carrying and wanting to put down. Some relationship that has been broken, some unworthy weight upon your shoulders. David Blanchard concludes the story that Sally just read to us saying this. I want to read this to you. He said, "It wouldn't have worked out the same way if the roommate had smashed the vase in anger. The ending would have been different if my friend had avoided revealing a painful truth. The disaster was really a blessing. From an unwanted event came an invitation to freedom." He says it doesn't always work that way, but this story is a reminder that it's possible. It's possible for disappointment to open doors we have been afraid to enter. It's possible that the past wouldn't let us live in the present. It's possible that everything makes its own sense, even when that sense is not immediately clear to us. He concludes this short story saying, when life's next catastrophe sends you reeling, sit down and take a few deep breaths and see what happens if you peel away the layers of meaning to see what is pulsing at its core. Maybe you too will find reason to give thanks in an unlikely occasion. Of course, this doesn't work in all circumstances, but it is a practice we take up today. Like the line that says, from an unwanted event came an invitation to freedom. We practice approaching that freedom today in this ritual of relinquishment. And it gives me hope that some letting go is possible. That some letting go can make a difference to the human spirit, to our spirits, to our souls, and to our relationships, and affect the world in a positive way, even if we just practice today. This letting go is an invitation to freedom. And I know it's a fact because I have done it with the disappointments in my life, with relationships that didn't turn out the way I hoped, with hopes and dreams of my own deferred or unfulfilled. I have been able to let them go. And this year, I am letting go a lot of things. Discontent with people I love or respect. Today I'm burning worries over fitness and instead getting to work on fitness. I'm letting go of the fear of anti-choice protesters who showed up at our door in the fall and seized my heart. But it became ignition to more compassion and to a resolve to work for poor women's right to health care. I'm letting go on my fear of sweetbreads. And instead implementing a path to more healthy eating. So there, perhaps the resolution and the relinquishment become two halves of a whole. The resolution points to the relinquishment, and the act of relinquishment points back to a resolution that we can keep, that we can do something about. The famous line from Ecclesiastes, if we had a biblical reading today, it would be this one, this familiar one, that rings through my head each year at this time. It says, "For everything there is a season." Those of you from the 60s, sing along. A time to live and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, and so on. But there is one omission. It does not say there is a time to burn. But for us, there is today. A time to put down, a time to relinquish, at least to try, and see what it does to our soul. So we invite you to this ritual today, to make the new year a real new year. It started a long time ago, this tradition in this church, and it continues today. Let us write those things we wish to leave behind in the old year to make the new year fresh and ready. So one last instruction. We will now pause to write. We will then pray. We will then sing, and then we will invite you forward. The ushers will bring you. And there is one more thing I am relinquishing today, and that is any control over whether this works or not. So I invite you now into a moment of reflection, a moment of reflecting on your relinquishment for the year.